Hi, hello. Welcome to episode 9 of Cardinal Territory. My name's Katie Wu. I'm your host, and I am so excited to have my very dear friend and very special guest, Chip Caray, the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals, here today. Chip, how are you? Are you excited to be back in St. Louis?
Great to be back in baseball heaven, Katie. Great to see you. The winter warm-up is upon us, and I think we're all ready for some warmer weather. So hopefully all of those things will be happening here in the next 48 hours.
Yes, Florida man, California girl, not too winter. This is maybe the worst combination.
It was not good getting off the plane today, I can tell you that.
No, I bought an ice scraper for the first time in my life. So
nice.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. You're a very popular person, highly recommended, and I'm not just saying that because you agreed to do this for free. I'm saying that because it's true.
Well, my name pronounced in French is cheap, so that makes it easy for everybody. But I'm glad to be with you. We'll have some fun. We'll talk a little baseball and hopefully get people fired up for the season ahead.
Yeah, let's do it. First of all, how have you been? How has your offseason been? It's been a quick exit since that last Cardinals-Giants game back at the end of September.
Yeah, it's been busy. As you know, the ingress and egress with family life is the hardest part of the job, right? You leave for 6 months and then you parachute back in and you find out just how useless you really are, except when you get the honeydew list that's as tall as the Gateway Arch, but got that taken care of. My daughter got engaged, so that's exciting. She's getting married next November, and she survived the wildfires in Los Angeles, so that's been kind of scary the last couple of weeks. But all in all, it's been a relatively normal off season for the Caray clan, and I think we're getting to that point in the season where the family's saying, when's opening day? Isn't it time for you to go back to work? And I think all of us, once the calendar gets to mid-January, we all start to feel the same way in the baseball biz.
I say that a lot. And my parents also, I think, had that same feeling around like my third week of my home for the holidays vacation. They were like, are you going to leave?
Yeah.
Eventually. But why? Because my mom, she's the best cook.
Right.
Their couch is super comfortable. Why would I leave? But
yeah. My kids are kind of the same way. There's no space on the couch. There's no space in the refrigerator. The laundry is piled up, to mountainous heights. The yard always needs to get cut, and guess who gets to do it? Dear old mom and dad. So that part of it's always fun dealing with the Generation Zers that are in our life.
Absolutely. Yeah, not like I can relate at all. It's funny that you say that. When we get to mid-January, I usually feel that itch, right? Like, okay, it's almost baseball season, and the event that gets me there is winter warm-up. And I was joking with Trevor Rosenthal at our last show that this is like the event of the offseason because there really hasn't been anything else going on. But I do get excited for winter warm-up. It's we're still less than a month now from spring training, but we're getting closer.
Right.
And to me, this is the unofficial start to this 2025 season. It's really nice to talk to players, see what they've been up to for the last 3 months, see where the organization stands. Usually we have things like moves to talk about, not this year. But I still think it'll be fun nonetheless. And you are in St. Louis. We're recording Thursday for our Friday episode. You're here now because you and your partner in crime, Brad Thompson, are going on a caravan trip, correct?
We are. We leave tomorrow morning, or Friday morning, I should say, for our trip down to Memphis. Brad Thompson and I will be on the bus to Memphis with, let me think about this, Zach Thompson, Jordan Walker, and the rest escapes me, but I'll figure that out in time for the bus ride at 8 o'clock. And I'll probably forget their names at some point while we're on the bus trip. But anytime you get to spend time with Brad's a blast, as you know. And I think you hit it on the head, Katie. The winter warm-up is so much fun because you run into the fans who are so passionate and care so much about what the Cardinals do or don't do. I mean, that's the lifeblood of the franchise, obviously. People that really care about it the same way that we do. And we are in this, at least I am, it's a people industry, right? You care about the people you spend 6 months with or spend 6 months watching do their thing on the baseball field and behind the scenes, and to get a chance to catch up with them after being away and separated from your baseball family. It is, as you said, the start of a new year. There's hope, there's optimism. Everybody's undefeated, and everybody looks forward to seeing what's going to unfold in Jupiter on February 10th.
Is there hope and optimism? No, you are the ray of sunshine in this group for sure. That's part of the reason why I like to talk to you, is because you keep me sane. You let me see that there is another side to all of this, and hopefully we'll get to see that. My favorite thing about Winter Warm-Up Weekend is just the amount of interviews that we do, and in the moment, because we're doing like probably close to 40, 45. You're just trying to get through them and make sure that, you're staying up to date on your deadlines, that your stories are written. But I like to go back and I like to listen to a bunch of them. And there are a ton of players that I'm excited to hear from, just because I think they will be so prominent for next year's team. And the big thing that we've talked about a lot for the 2025 Cardinals is their youth movement. Now, as we sit here on January 16th, recording this episode, the Cardinals have done a lot of advertising about their youth movement and reinvesting in player development. On the minor league side, they have done a great job in that. Chaim Bloom, that's been his project. That's his baby, right? The Cardinals have 4 new player directors in their player development system. They're completely revamping that program. It's been a long time coming. Lots of stuff on The Athletic about it if you are unfamiliar with maybe how far the Cardinals have fallen in player development. And that's a little concerning when you think about their background and their history as being like a leader in this part of the game. When it gets to the major league side, however, not a lot of movement there. If the Cardinals started the season today, they would have a starting lineup very similar to last year's, both position playing wise and in the rotation. The only path I think where there's true room to see some of these younger guys is in the bullpen. So I'll ask you this. How can the Cardinals make this youth movement work if indeed Nolan Arenado is here for pitchers and catchers? You already know Wilson Contreras is at first base. And you have, again, if this roster does not change at all, 4 major league veterans in your rotation. How can the Cardinals get creative?
Yeah, I think that's the $64 million or $67 million question, right? How does it work? Well, it works best if the Cardinals can find a trade partner with Nolan Arenado, because that clears your logjam on the infield. It allows you to put guys in position that they're used to playing, and it frees up playing time for the Donovans, the Sajasis, and the Nootbars, right? If Nolan's still here, well, then Nolan Gorin probably is going to be back at second base. Well, if he's at second base, what do you do with Sajasi? What do you do with Donovan? Well, if Donovan's in left, that means Nootbaar goes to center, where he's better off as a corner outfielder. Walker's going to play right. And you've got Contreras at first base, who will probably play there with Alec Burleson. So, look, the linchpin move for the Cardinals is what can they do, if anything, with Nolan Arenado. I know Mo has tried. I know he thought he had a deal with Houston. That went by the boards. But as of now, if I were to grade what St. Louis has done at the major league level, I'd give him an incomplete. What Mo said he wanted to accomplish, he has not been able to yet. But if he is able to do that, I think the runway that they keep talking about giving these guys, Katie, is going to be something very important. You've been around these guys. If you go 0 for 4 and you're in your first or second year in the major leagues, you wonder, am I going to be back in the lineup tomorrow? Or am I one phone call away, or 0 for 4 from going back to AA or AAA? And I think knowing for these guys that they're going to be able to play extended game reps is going to help their performance on the field. I think it's going to help them psychologically, and I really think it's going to be instrumentally and hugely important, I should say, for their professional growth as major league players. The Cardinals are going to find out if they think what they have is what they have. And if the players are, well, then we're going to see the basis for the next great Cardinal teams. If they're not, they're going to know that too. And either way, you have concrete answers instead of a great deal of unknowns, which serves nobody well, I think.
I agree. And I think that's why if I'm a Cardinals fan or just looking at this team from the outside perspective, I'm a little antsy, because right now there are so many unknowns, and there's really no way to know if these problems are going to be solved. Because like you said, I like how you described the Arenado trade or no trade is the linchpin here. Like, are the Cardinals preparing for a scenario in which he returns? Yes, of course, at this point you have to be prepared for that. That's in no way saying that he will. But at January 16th, with virtually no traction since the ill-fated Astros trade attempt, this is a reality that John Mozeliak and his crew will be considering. And Mo has been very candid in what the plan for 2025 is. And he's used the word runway so many times because that's what he wants to give to these guys. And I love the point that you make about players knowing that they have guaranteed playing time regardless of individual results or team results. That's so important. When you think of a guy like Nolan Gorman or Jordan Walker, and I think we've talked about this before, these are guys that have come up, struggled, and have had to been sent down because the Cardinals are trying to contend and trying to keep atop the NL Central. This year, what the Cardinals are saying is, it's okay if they struggle. We're going to throw them in there every day and they're going to get the chance to work through it. So we know what kind of players they are. That's going to really help, I think, overall confidence. Where you kind of draw into question on if that can happen or not is if there's enough playing time to go around. We know the guys are locked for playing time. Jordan Walker is going to start in right field almost every day. Nolan Gorman, Mo has said it before, 500 to 600 plate appearances. That's the goal they'd like. If Lars Nootbaar can stay healthy, that's a big concern. He's going to be there every day. Can he play center field? I know in years past there's been, I don't want to say the Cardinals don't want him to play center field. They're certainly comfortable doing that if they need to, but he just profiles much stronger as a corner outfielder. Is this the year that they try to see if he can learn to play center on the fly? Yes, they have Mike Ciani, who I think is an elite defender. You have Victor Scott, a very exciting prospect. So how do you balance that playing time? If Nolan Arenado's at third base and Nolan Gorman's playing second, Brendan Donovan is still a super utility, which is helpful, but it doesn't really alleviate the playing time for Alec Burleson or Thomas JC. You go down the list, and that's not even getting into the pitching side. So I don't know if the Cardinals can pull off their self-proclaimed youth movement. Right now, the current rotation, Sonny Gray, Miles Michaelis, Eric Fetty, Steven Matz, Andre Palante. Okay, so there's one guy out of 5 that is under 30 and someone that you can maybe plan for years and years to come. And some of these issues, problems, if you will, come from contracts, right? The Cardinals gave Sonny Gray a no trade clause. They gave Wilson Contreras a no trade clause. They did not give Nolan Arenado one. They inherited one. Right. But these are still things they have to work around. Miles Michaelis, no trade clause. Well, I think it's great that both Gray and Contreras expressed their preference to stay. I think that does a lot for a fan base. And I think it puts some belief in the young guys that these two guys, which are so accomplished in their individual careers, want to be a part of this next movement. I think that's great. It's still, to me, makes me wonder how the Cardinals can promote their internal pitching, their young pitching, because they do have a lot of exciting guys. It just seems like no place to put them except the bullpen. And I don't know if that's a route they still want to keep going down. You've seen it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on, as you said, the Arenado deal is a linchpin. If you can't move him, well, then you move guys that have big salaries in your starting rotation to give opportunities to the Michael McGreevy's, the Gordon Graceffos, maybe Quinn Matthews, Tink Hence, Koa Roby, Sem Roberts, and guys like that are already here and in the organization. That's a conversation between you and Dusty. I know you speak to him a lot about the pitching plans and what the Cardinals want to try to do. But I think the optimistic side of me says the following about the young guys. I think this group as a whole is going to be extremely motivated to prove the naysayers wrong, that the bad years that some of those guys had last year were an aberration, that the upward trajectory of their career is ready to start with consistent playing time. I really think that they're going to be motivated to be the next group that gets the Cardinals into the playoffs, that wins playoff series and becomes cornerstone pieces here. The obligation for the veterans and the pitching staff is, well, what can Sonny Gray, what can Miles Michaelis teach the Quinn Matthewses, the Tink Hences, and the Michael McGreevy's who are here or on their way? That's their job, too, not just going out and pitching every 5th day. And those are guys that have had major league success. And I think there are a couple of bounce-back candidates. Do you think Miles Michaelis wants to trot a 5 ERA out there again for the Cardinals in the last year of his deal? No. I mean, you talk to Miles a lot. I can't think of a guy that works harder, that's more motivated to be great than he is. Now, he may not be, but I don't think there's any question in my mind that he, as he said so nicely the other day, he doesn't want to be a guy that's a good riddance player when his contract ends. He wants to leave with a positive memory burnished in the minds of Cardinal fans. This guy pitched hard. He pitched his heart out, and he pitched well at times for St. Louis. And we're really proud of the contributions that he made here. And I think that's going to be a very big, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, motivating factor for not just the old guys, but the young guys on this team this year.
Agreed. I really like that story done by Derek Gould in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, where Miles Michaelis was very candid, and he said this line stood out to me. It was, he owes the fans of St. Louis better baseball. And that kind of mentality when you're a young player, very moldable, is so important. Sonny Gray really embraces that kind of leadership job, or leadership role, I should say. He likes being the guy that young kids come to. And you may not think that because Sonny is such he's a pitcher, right?
He's a quirky guy.
He's a pitcher. It's very, very serious competitor, very quirky about the way that he does things, but it works for him. He really likes being a guy that someone can lean on, and that's going to be part of his job. Not only is it going to be his job to lead the rotation performance on the field, he's also going to be leading the next form, the next rotation off the field as well. And there are some exciting guys. I really liked what we saw out of Mike McGreevy. This is a guy that came up, made 3 starts. He was really good. And I know small sample size, I understand. And the Cardinals didn't really have much to lose in September at that point, but not to McGreevy. McGreevy, I thought, was really impressive the way he carried himself, the way that he prepared, and also how he pitched. There's no fear in that guy. And when you're a guy that's coming up and you know that end of the 2024 season was probably an early audition for a potential rotation spot come 2025, there could be some nerves there. You could be in your head. Not McGreevy. He just went out there and pitched like he's been doing his whole life. And I thought that was exciting. We've talked about Palante a lot on this show.
Yep.
Obviously someone that we're going to see. What I don't want is I would hate for the Cardinals to have all of these young, impressionable, starting pitching caliber pitchers and force them into the bullpen just to get them experience. Because as we've seen, let's go down the list, Palante, Matthew Liberatore, Kyle, or not, who am I thinking of? Zach Thompson. I don't know why I was going to say Kyle Gibson. He did not fit that list. It just, you go down the list of prominent starting pitching prospects that have come up as relievers and have been kind of bounced around. I understand it's the big leagues. When you get an assignment, you take it and you run with it. But I think it has really stalled some of the development, especially for a guy like Zach Thompson, who a former first round pick has not really yet been able to figure it out. Matthew Liberatore has been very candid about how tough that experience was. Palante as well. I would hate for like the next wave of guys to come up, and some of them might turn into really good relievers like Libby did. But
Sure.
let's not pretend like that was a done deal. That was a lot of trial and error and a lot of gripe that Libby had to figure out in real time. So I would really hope that the Cardinals maybe stray from that approach and see what happens when you develop starting pitching prospects as starting pitchers. But again, it's the big leagues, so you take the opportunity when you get it.
Yeah, and I think for the Cardinals to get where they want to go, Katie, I think we've seen it all around baseball, right? How do you win? If you pitch, you have a chance to win. If you don't, you don't. It's really simple. I think we tend to overcomplicate a pretty simple game. And the Cardinals have really struggled to develop homegrown, dominant starting pitching for a long, long time. And that's got to change. And I think they feel like they have some guys in the pipeline that have a chance to come up and be more than serviceable major league starting pitchers. And look, we can debate till the cows come home about the importance of a starting pitcher, right? Just give me 5, give me 6 innings, get out of the game. Just don't lose the game. Give me a chance to win it with an overpowering bullpen. I think the Cardinals have some of those pieces in place that can do that. But when you think about the growth that Andre Palante experienced last year, use that as a template for all of the young players, position players, pitchers alike, what the Cardinals could accomplish. Look at Alec Burleson and the playing time he got. Yes, he faded in the second half of the season, but look at what he did with his 400-plus at-bats. He was arguably the Cardinals' best hitter for 2.5 months last year. If that can translate to other guys on this pitching staff, the Ryan Fernandezes, who will be on the caravan with me.
There you go.
I think the Cardinals have a chance to have a very fun and exciting year. Look, as fans, we all get terrified about the unknown. What's going to happen? We don't know. Well, that's why you play, number one. But number two, that's the excitement of it, right? When you see a young guy come in that you don't know what he's capable of, go out and do well, then all of a sudden your perspective on him and the entire team changes, right? Wait a minute. These guys are pretty fun. They're exciting to watch. They're not going to win every game, but they play hard. They represent the front of the uniform great. They represent our city great, and they care. And I think that's a player that anybody and a team like that can and will get behind. And so my message to the fans would be very simply, I don't know what's going to happen in 2025. I don't know if this refresh is going to bear fruit quickly or slowly. I know it will at some point, but come grow along with us. Come watch these guys. Come support them, because there's a pretty good chance that these guys are going to have a breakout year. And as I said before, nobody expects them to do it. And when that happens, when you're good and nobody expects you to be, those are the most magical years that nobody ever forgets.
It's a great point. And I think to your point here, that Cardinals fans will show up if you have the group of the future. This is a very loyal fan base. I mean, they're not afraid to voice their opinion, nor should they. They are absolutely instrumental to the city of St. Louis, not just Cardinals baseball. And I think where the fan frustration is there's not a lot of opportunity yet to see that new era of baseball. Right. It seems very similar, the roster, to last year. And Cardinals, Do they really want to go out there and see a bunch of guys playing out the end of their contracts and are delaying new talents? I mean, you think of like what a guy like Ting Hence or Quinn Matthews can do if he comes out there, if either of them come out there and perform well. You think fans are going to get behind that? Look how quickly they got behind Mason Wynn. They're still supporting Jordan Walker. They love themselves some Alec Burleson. Like, if you give this fan base something to invest in, they will. I think the frustration right now is they just feel like there hasn't been a lot of change yet. And all of this, one text, I could get one text, one call right now, a move has been made. It hasn't. And it would change this entire conversation. But I think fans are so frustrated by the organization staying somewhat stagnant and rolling out the same roster, the same plan for another year. That's what's frustrating. I think fans want to see that next era. You think like developing starting pitching is so important, especially considering the astronomical prices of the starting pitching market, which we know the Cardinals are not really going to be invested in. That's just that's what history tells us. So if you're a Cardinals fan, you're paying attention to the game, and all of a sudden you see Tink Hens come out, make his major league debut next year in 25, and he shoves, or you see McGreevy figure it out, or Palante figure it out. All of a sudden you start to buy in, like, oh, is this the next Cardinals pitcher? Like, they don't have to go out and find one on the market. Last year, the Cardinals rotation, 5 free agent starters or trades. Like, these are all they had to go get.
That's not sustainable, as you know.
Not sustainable, right? So that's what I think fans are looking for. They're looking for the opportunity to see the next wave of baseball. And as we stand today, it doesn't look like it's necessarily a seamless fit.
Yeah, well, and I think, to be fair, we all talk about the farm system and developing our players, right? If you think about it and look at it pretty fairly, I think you'd have to say that all the Cardinals youngsters are already here, and maybe their ETA was pushed forward a year or maybe 2 years sooner than it should have been out of necessity, right? Herrera and Pajes, homegrown guys. Sajasi they acquired in trade. Donovan, homegrown guy. Mason Wynn, homegrown guy. Nootbaar, homegrown guy. Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, homegrown guys. That's pretty impressive in today's era of Major League Baseball, where there's so much player movement. There are a lot of guys that they have invested a lot of high draft picks, time, and money in getting to the major leagues. Now it's time for them to develop up here and figure it out. And I think once they do that, if they do that, or even if they don't, then fans can get rid of that I don't know what's going to happen mentality, right? Fans want certainty. I want to pay my money to go see a star. Who's the next Cardinals star going to be? Is it Brendan Donovan? Is it Mason Wynn? Is it Jordan Walker? Well, we're going to find out among the position players. They're going to get a great chance to see those guys get their 500, 600 at-bats, and we're going to know a heck of a lot more about them as players, about the standing of the Cardinals team as a whole by the time we get to August 1st.
And that's what matters here. We know right. Baseball heaven, it feels a lot more like baseball purgatory lately because there is just no definitive direction. And the Cardinals have said multiple times what they'd like their direction to be. Now it's just a matter of getting there. They have 4 weeks and then 6 weeks of spring training. So we'll see. I'm not throwing in the towel yet. I do understand the fan angst about the situation. It's mid-January. The team looks exactly the same, minus the free agents that they knew were going to walk away anyway.
And that's a good point. If I can interrupt, this is a team that won 83 games last year with a terrible offense.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's a fair point to make that you've got to expect that a full season of Wilson Contreras is going to make this offense better. Mason Wynn, with a full year under his belt, may be better than he was. If Arenado stays, he's going to be extremely motivated to be a heck of a lot better. If Nootbaar can play 120 games, he should be better. You hope, and I know we're selling hope in the old, hope in one hand, something else in the other, which fills up first, but you've got to hope and believe that Jordan Walker is going to figure out. He's an intelligent kid who gets it and wants to be great. If all of those things happen, well, then we're talking about a team that could very easily be in the mid-80s in wins from an offensive standpoint. And then you think a whole lot differently about your club come trade deadline in 2025. So I tend to be a little more optimistic than most, but I can afford to be. I don't have to live and die with the outcome of the games. I don't put the team together, nor do you. But I think it's safe to say I'm rooting for these kids. I'm really excited for them to get this opportunity. In many other markets, many other organizations, they wouldn't, or they would have been moved on. I think it takes a lot of courage to have patience, as Clint Hurdle once said. And the Cardinals are doing that with their young players because I don't think they want to repeat some of the mistakes they've made in decades past where they've gotten rid of guys too early as opposed to too late. So it's going to be a fascinating year on many, many different levels come opening day, March 28th.
I like this because I would hate coming to pitchers and catchers and feeling pessimistic. And I do think you make a great point that the Cardinals won 83 games with an abysmal offense last year. Willson Contreras, bookmark this, is going to take off playing first base. He's going to go crazy. I had a conversation with a couple writers today at our baseball writers dinner that, that's our pick to click for the offense. There are reasons to believe in this team. Just right now, it doesn't feel like a very positive time for the history of the organization.
Yeah.
But that's why we love baseball, and that's why all of us keep coming back.
Yeah, and it's kind of symbolizes our city, doesn't it? Right? I mean, people kind of count out St. Louis. Yeah, does the city have a lot of problems? There are a lot of things that we would like to see improve and be better. Yeah, and I think people all around our nation kind of kick St. Louis to the curb and sort of dismiss us. I think that we have a right to have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. It's a great place to live and work. It's a great franchise. It's been a terrific team. There are people that really, really care and are motivated to put their best foot forward for the people that are paying their hard-earned money to come out and watch them play at Busch Stadium. And I really think that that's going to be a subconscious motivating factor for a lot of these teams. Dismiss this club at your own peril, I think. I'm not saying they're going to get to the World Series. I'm not saying they're going to win the division. But I can promise you this, Ollie and his staff are going to have these guys playing hard 162 times a year. And for that, I hope fans will be very, very proud of that effort.
Love it. My last one for you before we get out of here.
Yeah.
We have plenty of things to prepare for, like you figuring out the names on your caravan.
Yeah, right.
You got why I like this question. I ask it a lot because I think it's fascinating, and also because there are so many options to choose. Who take all the players in the organization that you think have a chance to perform at the major league level in 2025? Who is the player you're most excited to see next year?
The player I'm most excited to see next year. I'm going to say Jordan Walker.
Yes.
Jordan Walker, because he, fairly or not, is such, using the term linchpin again, like what we did with Arenado, I think he is such a linchpin to what the Cardinals organization wants to be. It's been 2 decades since they've developed their own homegrown middle-of-the-order bat. Think about that. I mean, you got to go back to Albert Pujols, right? That's pretty much the last impact offensive player that was born and raised a Cardinal, got to the show, became a star, and eventually a superstar. I think Jordan Walker has all the tools in the world to be that kind of player. And look, we are fortunate enough to get a chance to talk to Jordan as a human being. Forget the baseball player part. I can't think of a younger player that cares more about what he's supposed to do, what he wants to do, and what he believes he can do than he. And so I think he has a chance to really, really be a special player if we give him the time to figure it out. This is such a hard game. And yeah, I know they get paid thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, all that stuff. I get that. He's a 23-year-old kid trying to make his way in a very, very difficult business with not a whole lot of safety net or runway. Well, all of those things, as we said, have been taken away from him. I just want him to relax, go out and kick butt. And if he does that, look out, because we'll have a monster on our hands, I think.
I love that. I would love nothing more than that. I would love very much to be reunited with you soon. So luckily that will happen this weekend at everyone's favorite event of the year, winter warm-up.
It's here. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, what a time. That'll do from us on Car Territory. Trevor Rosenthal is back with us on Tuesday, most likely. I think he might be actually flying back from winter warm-up. So we'll have 2 episodes next week. I'll just keep you posted on the days. You guys know how this podcast works. We're figuring it out day by day. You can follow us on Twitter at Car Territory, like and subscribe to our page on YouTube. Find us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Chip Caray, thank you so much.
Of course, Katie. Great to see you. Keep up the great work at The Athletic. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. I will definitely see you soon. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.